Hey all, it's Nim or Nimicry if you're feeling professional, and welcome to the YouTube video. Now today we're going to be talking about something that is 100% absolutely vital to you as a player in Final Fantasy XIV, and that is updates to the prohibited activities in Final Fantasy XIV and account penalty policy. But before we do that, if you like what I do, or you like the channel, go on and click subscribe. I'd consider it a personal favor, and if you'd like to get extra brownie points, and we all like brownie points, hit that notification bell, and YouTube may deign to actually show you things that I put up. Outside of that, you will see a list of names on screen right now. Those are my patrons, those wonderful people who are supporting a small creator as I grow or expand or move laterally or just get older. But either way, let's get started on the video. It comes as no surprise that every online service and game has a EULA, has terms of service, has a material uses license agreement. We get that. Anybody watching this video has probably scrolled through a couple hundred of them and been like, okay, click. Let me just play the game. It's launch day. I want to play the game. My guild wants me to prepare to go so we can raid. I want to do that. Let me play it. The stuff you agree to, those are the things that can get you banned. And that's what we're going over today. We're going over changes to prohibited activities and account penalty policy. That's different than, let's say, social norms in a game, which, hey, we say thank you, we try to drop commendations, we try not to spam chat. Those can all be soft ignored if you want to be, let's say, rude, or followed if you want to be polite. Let's talk about the official stuff. I'll give examples and my take on it as I can, and keep in mind, this is the hard and fast rules. These are what you need to follow. So for Final Fantasy XIV Online, in order to ensure players can continue to safely enjoy their time in Final Fantasy XIV, we have made changes to the prohibited activities as well as the related account penalty policy. Now, this is from the Lodestone, so you can actually look this up on your own. There will be a link in the description if you want to read it for yourself, but we're going to go over it and go from there. Although we have not updated the Square Enix account terms of use, the Final Fantasy XIV user agreement, or the Final Fantasy XIV materials uses license, we encourage other players to take this opportunity to review and become familiarized with them once again. The following changes have been made. So, prohibited activities in Final Fantasy XIV. Addition of 2 prohibited activities related to the Party Finder as countermeasures against vendors of real money trading, RMT. Now, I did a video on real money trading earlier in my channel's life. You can find it on the channel. I was contacted by a Chinese company wanting me to put ads for RMT in front of them. I sent them a video that was, at mildest put, extremely disrespectful. Now, the update. In response to RMT vendors repeatedly creating fraudulent recruitment listings in Party Finder, the following 2 activities related to Party Finder have been added to the list of prohibited activities. So, the reason for the update is until now, when we discovered fraudulent recruitment listings by RMT vendors in the Party Finder, we first investigated for RMT activity before issuing penalties. However, many of these listings directed users to external websites, meaning an extensive process was required to substantiate allegations of RMT activity. This meant that these fraudulent listings were routinely visible on a daily basis, a situation which has persisted until now. Furthermore, RMT vendors disregard normal gameplay and are only concerned with RMT activity, meaning many of their fraudulent recruitment listings were created in the Duty Roulette category of the Party Finder. This meant that they were prominently visible upon opening the Party Finder menu, which became a major hindrance during normal gameplay. Although various methods were considered of resolving the issue, in interest of taking swift action without requiring extensive investigations, we have deemed it necessary to prohibit the advertising of RMT services and the creation of recruitment listings in incorrect categories within the Party Finder, actions which are routinely done by RMT vendors. We apologize for the relatively restricted nature of these changes compared to how the Party Finder is being used until now, and we appreciate your understanding. Both are details regarding the prohibited behaviors which have been added. Advertising offers to help clear content to help earn loot via the Party Finder. It is prohibited to advertise using the Party Finder to offer help to clear duties or to obtain items. To help people clear raid content or obtain items by having them join your party, a penalty will be issued if the act has been confirmed. This prohibits the act of advertising such as support and does not prohibit those asking for help themselves through the use of the Party Finder. It is not a violation to ask for help or offer a reward when asking for help, as in the following examples that do not violate our policy. However, in the examples that do violate the policy, the person offering help is advertising their services, which is prohibited. So before we get into the examples, let's break down the meta a little bit in a wider context. So, as people who spend a lot of time in the MMORPG space and in gaming in general, boosting is a problem for a community. because what it does is it creates two distinct classes and pushes everyone out. Right now, so you have your boosters and your boosties. Your boosters have the ability, or your carriers or your sellers or however you want to say it, have the ability to clear the content. Your boosties may have the ability to clear the content, but because of various factors, they can't necessarily clear the content. So how do they actually clear the content? Well, they have to pay. Now, sometimes it's through real money, sometimes it's through in-game currency, sometimes it's through items, sometimes it's through other nebulous forms of monetization. But that is all real money trading. And all of that real money trading is against the TOS. The problem with having real money trading as a primary source of completion of content is that it drowns out regular groups trying to progress or finish or fill a hole if somebody was there, as we can see in Final Fantasy XIV's largest competitor, World of Warcraft. If you go into the party finder, or you go to the party finder, you'll just see want to sell, 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 and they'll all direct you to an external link. Now, the difference here, of course, between World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV is that in here, they had said that they had to investigate. So they actually cared enough to investigate to see if RMT was going on. And I'm going to be honest, if you're directing somebody to an external site off-platform, RMT is going on. Because if it wasn't going on, you wouldn't need to leave the platform. Now, but Nim, what if they're incompetent? Okay, so the question there is, are you incompetent or are you breaking the rules? I'll let the person decide. That being said, I also don't have any arbitration power, so that's that. So in order to save money, save manpower, they're like, you know what, we're just going to nix it, no more RMT. But there are some examples of advertising because, again, this is kind of very draconic and authoritarian. And while I'm not necessarily for the strictest of measures, I do like the fact that it cuts down on the advertising, because as a new expansion is going to come out, you're going to have people advertising and advertising and advertising. And the problem is that what if you don't want to pay? What if you want to just go with a learning party? Well, why would I take a learning party when the boosters are going to take me? Well, I can't pay. Well, I can't find a learning party because the boosters have filled up all the slots, and every time I try to find something, it gets filled or something like that. So we don't want that. We're glad to see the RMT selling and the advertisement go down. But there are some examples where they say it's okay. So let's take a look at that in a greater context and clarity. Examples of violation. Selling X duty clear for 1 million gil. Okay, that's pretty cut and dry. If I offer, like, hey, we're clearing UCOB, I need 4 million gil or something like that. If I do that, okay. Can't do it. All right. Selling duty clear and or offering associated rewards from content. Join for more info/details. Now, that may seem innocuous at first, but here's the thing. The actual requirements to go into the duty are hidden. And if they're hidden, then that means they can't be monitored by Square. And that's the problem. That will essentially, I would be willing to bet, flip a coin on more than 50% chance. Let's see. Hold on. Let's try it. Boom. What do you got? Oh, what do you know? It's RMT. So there we go. Now, the example of non-violation would be, I'm new. Can anyone help me clear X duty? Again, that's somebody saying that. Or I need help clearing X duty. Who wants to form a party? Or forming a party, be like, hey, we're a learning party. We're going to go through this. And there are a bunch of options to check, so you can always do that. But the point is, you're leading with the fact that we're trying to clear content. Money or reward or potential rewards have not even been brought into it. That's going to be handled after the duty's clear. Because if you don't clear the duty, doesn't matter. You don't get anything. Like, maybe a headache. Help me clear duty and I'll pay you 1 million gil. Okay, so a reverse advertisement, or at least so instead of selling or instead of buying something, you're essentially selling something. That's an interesting inversion, because you don't. That would cut down on RMT, because when you go seller first, that means that, hey, I need help clearing X duty. Oh, okay, cool. Pay me 1 million gil. Pay me 1 million gil. Well, if I can't pay you 1 million gil, you're like, all right, cool, I can't help you. I'm gonna help you. Pay me 1 million gil. I'll help you. As opposed to now, if you come with me and we clear it, all right, here's some money. So you can do that, and it'll cut down on RMT, because now the money's not flowing first, the money's flowing after. And people would be more likely to stay. Do I like that particular idea? No, not really. I think it's slightly It's too close to ARM. It's too close for RMT stuff for me. But the fact that there's not monetizing at the beginning means that you're not going to get actual money. But you could set up something, for example, like the Gallywix trading community that happened, where they were boosting people and then paying out. So it's possible to do that, but there's not an in-game token that you can redeem for money. So it may not be a problem because the monetization tactics aren't there, unlike in Final Fantasy XIV's biggest competitor. I'd like to get some items from Duty. Will pay 1 million gil if I can get it. Okay, so you're paying to reserve. Again, that's not a problem. I think those are good. Please note that Square Enix may conduct investigations and issue a penalty in its discretion, even if a report has not been filed. So they are monitoring chat logs right there. They just told you we are monitoring chat logs. People are there. They want to keep the game healthy, happy, and growing. So just keep that in mind. Now, other solicitations that fall far outside of the intended purpose of Party Finder. So the main purpose of Party Finder is to recruit members to participate in content. Any recruitment listing that does not match its intended category is prohibited. The other category is intended for recruiting players to participate in content that is not listed in the listed categories. However, as an exception, the other category may be used for the sake of recruiting members to form a community or conduct exchanges between players. Examples of these include promoting player events, housing-related promotions, advertising and purchase sale of items, recruitment of members for community groups such as link shells and free companies. Okay, see, those are fine. Those are perfectly fine, because what if you Final Fantasy XIV has numerous player-driven events that they'll do things. I mean, after all, they have bards that play concerts and things like that. Of course, housing-related promotions. I know the free company I'm in, Poke, has housing-related stuff all the time. Then, of course, if you want to sell certain items, why not? You can put it on the market board, and you can put it there too. And then, of course, recruitment. Hey, everybody's free company needs to grow. Everybody's link shell needs to grow. It is prohibited to list any of the above categories it is prohibited to list any of the above in categories other than the other category. If Square Enix determines that certain Party Finder listings involve prohibited activities, such as attempts to disguise RMT activity, the Party Finder listing will be removed, along with a penalty being issued. So I want you guys to take this away from here. They are not playing. Square Enix is no longer playing with RMT. They're like, we're done. We're stamping it down. Our game is growing and at its highest concurrent player averages. So we're stamping down on the problems of the community. And I think that's a good idea. Now, adjustments to prohibited activities documentation for clarification and addition of prohibited activities that were previously announced. So, an update. Prohibited activities that were previously announced, such as purchasing a housing plot with the intention of resale, have been added to the list. Oh, yes. Yes, so no more housing barons, which I'm a fan of. I'm an absolute fan of that. Go off, King. Additionally, the difference between staking and improper following stalking. Staking, that's a weird word. Boy, that would also be inappropriate. Hey, come here! No, we're not trying to do that. But what if you're role-playing as a vampire? I don't know. We'll find out. Additionally, the difference between stalking and improper following, as well as details regarding obstruction of play, have been updated for clarity with additional information and adjustments. We must remember that a few months ago, when Asmongold first started playing Final Fantasy XIV, there was a time where people would follow him around, griefing him for 8-9 hours at a time. And I think like 30,000 accounts were issued a penalty. Some of them were even permanently banned. They're not playing. You cannot impact another player's quality of game. Do not do it. They're telling you right now, don't do it. And this is from the official Final Fantasy XIV Twitter account. Don't do it. The link took me to Lodestone. Now, addition of detailed explanations and examples of prohibited activities. So, update. Sections regarding prohibited activities that primarily arise from communication relating conflicts have been updated with explanations and examples where possible. Because, again, it's never possible to lay out every single instance of an interaction that could happen. It's not possible. At some level, you have to use human judgment, and Square Enix is apparently doing that with RMT, so there's no reason why they wouldn't have the same people investigating claims or potential fraud, as RMT hiding there, to look into this, to look into, hey, you guys are harassing people. And of course, the reports help as well. If someone's like, hey, this person keeps following me, this person over there keeps following me, can you help me out? Eventually, I'm sure that you will have some level of recourse. So the reason for the update. Until now, prohibited activities were listed without specific details in order to prevent exploitation and abuse of the rules. However, we recently received feedback suggesting that the lack of detail made it difficult to understand what constitutes a violation, which could lead to overly sensitive reactions to non-violations or violations of the rules despite efforts to abide by them. So that paragraph is like, hey, we were originally too vague. Now we're going to clear it up because we want to make sure that if we're banning people or if we're penalizing people, they understand why and what actions did it so other people don't do it. After all, there's that old saying, everyone can profit from a bad example. Our rules are established with the intention of allowing players to enjoy the game with peace of mind, and we're not meant to become a source of anxiety for our players. As such, we have made changes with emphasis on clarity. However, there are innumerable expressions used in communication, and the provided examples do not cover every possible instance. Therefore, these examples should be seen as a reference for learning more about prohibited behavior or for situations where you are uncertain about how to act or what to say. So, again, you got to use some human judgment here. They're never going to be able to stake everything out, and I like that. I have seen a lot of people on Twitter today blow things out of proportion, like, oh, if I offer help, someone's going to... I'm going to get banned, or if I say you're doing something wrong, I'm going to get banned. Probably not. You're probably not going to get banned. Now, what did you say in addition to that person not doing it right? Did you offer, help? And when you offered help, did you, bat them about the face with rude language? Or were you like, hey, let me shoot you a whisper. Hey, by the way, for Bartum's Hunter, listen, you got to try to dodge the lines. And then because if you get hit twice, then you're rooted and you may die, and it's a problem. So, go dodge the lines. And most people in Final Fantasy that I've ran into were like, oh, hey, thanks. Now, are there toxic people in every community? Of course. Of course, there are toxic people in every community. But, by and large, this is one of the least toxic games I've ever played. Now, other minor text adjustments. So, the account penalty policy. Addition of explanation for penalty points. Update. An explanation regarding penalty points has been added. So, the reason for the update is penalty points refer to a specific point value that are assigned to each type of violation category, i.e. obscene, indecent expressions, aggressive expressions such as violent language, slander, insults, threats. Speaking of which, don't threaten people over the internet. Just don't do it. Don't do it. And vary depending on the severity of the violation type. The total sum of these penalty points determines the type of penalty an offender will receive. Penalty points together with the actual penalty issued are recorded and will be used to determine the penalties issued for any future violations. Although penalty points were internal information and therefore were not publicly explained until now, we have added an explanation as they are essential in understanding the system of reduction of penalty points mentioned below. Note that there are no changes to the procedures themselves at this time. So you're still going to get the same penalties and accrue them the same way. We just now have more public-facing information, which is useful because that can, maybe somebody had a bad day and was trolling and got a couple of points and couple of things, and now maybe with more public information be like, oh, I need to behave myself. Because listen, no one is perfect, and I understand that, but I also want to give everybody the most amount of information possible so that if they know, like, oh, you're like 2 reports away from being banned permanently, you better be cool. And then they're not cool. It's like, well, we told you. We laid it out so you could play it out. And you decided to be like, okay, let's burn this. And then you did. So, because I want everybody to have as much information as possible before they make their actions. After all, we play an MMO. We maximize, we min-max, and we try to optimize as much as we can. So we have the implementation of a system in which accrued penalty points may be reduced based on the number of days that have passed since the previous penalty. So as an update, a system has been implemented in which accrued penalty points may be reduced if a significant amount of time has passed since the last penalty was issued. So the reason for the update is penalties are intended to urge offenders to reflect on their violations and discourage repeat violations. It means keep people in the game, slap on the wrist. Hey, stop it. However, we have confirmed cases where the permanence of past penalties instead led offenders to commit subsequent violations. So the idea that if you, I'm already punished and I'm never going to be unpunished, so I might as well continue to do my whatever I want. And if I want to play again, then I'll just make another character, another account. For example, offenders might think penalties won't go away anyway, and they may repeat violations without remorse, or commit the same violation again as their remorse fades over time. We felt that setting decay periods for penalty points would provide users with a clear goal in correcting their behavior and decide to implement this system in order to better promote reflection and conscious restraint from repeating past violations. Since penalties would lose their significance if they were erased after a short period, penalty points accrued from penalties of the lowest severity, a caution, will not start decaying until at least 1 year has passed. Those involving a temporary service account suspension, or more severe, will not start decaying until a minimum of 3 to 6 year period has passed. We believe users who manage to maintain good in-game behavior during this period will not suddenly forget their long-term commitment, even if the reduction system completely erases their accrued penalty points. The reduction of accrued points is based on the amount of time that has passed since the last penalty. Therefore, if a subsequent violation is committed before a reduction occurs, then the countdown towards a reduction will reset at that point. In addition, this system will not reverse a service account termination. Refer to the account penalty policy for general information regarding decay periods for penalty points. So, if you're a troll, or you're doing things that you're not being a pro-social community member here, think of it like vuln stacks. Really, think of it like vulnerability stacks. You don't want to get vulnerability stacks. If you get one, and some people do, and they're still cool people, take it easy. Lower it down. Go vent on Twitter or something. Twitter doesn't care. They're not going to give you vuln stacks. But Final Fantasy XIV, the game you've probably put a lot of time in and a lot of money, cares. So keep that in mind. So avoid the vuln stacks. Behave in a pro-social manner. Other minor text adjustments. We thank you for all of the continued support, and we'll continue to update and review our rules and policies to ensure our players can safely enjoy their time in Final Fantasy XIV. So, here's the thing. What can we take away from this? 1, they are not playing with RMT. 100%, they are like, let's crack down on that. I am all for it. Crack down on all the RMT. Get it out of my games because it harms a genre that I love. Next, when it comes to saying, let's say, stalking or inappropriate following or affecting somebody else's ability to play, they're being more open about what causes what, and they actually did finally decide to implement a decay system. So let's say you have a bad day. Well, it's not a permanent penalty, and you'll remember like, hey, they will eventually ban me, so I need to be cool. I like this. Overall, these are really good changes. Now, some people may say, but Nim, it's authoritarian. I can't do the thing. You're ruining the game. No, they're not. They're not ruining the game. It's their game. I don't think they ruin the game. I think these are good things because now it's going to be more, people are going to behave in a more pro-social manner, and you won't have to worry about RMT as much, and you can actually find parties. Anyways, those have been my thoughts on this particular issue, and it is, again, very important for everyone playing Final Fantasy XIV to be aware of these changes because you will be held to that standard, whether you know it or not. Now, if you enjoyed what I did, or you enjoy the channel, or like me in particular, go on and click subscribe. I'd consider it a personal favor, as it helps the channel out immensely. You can also click the notification bell so that YouTube will actually show you the things that I do. You can connect with me in my Discord in a link below. You also can follow me on Twitter at Nimicry. That's Nimicry. In addition, and I'm always bad at plugging this, so I had to wear the Twitch shirt today, I stream on Twitch every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll usually play a mix of Final Fantasy and every now and again another game. That being said, it was wonderful making this video. I hope you all had a fun time watching it, and hopefully I get to see you in Eorzea and beyond. Take care and enjoy your game. Bye.